Season 2 of the Shade Chronicles Podcast is just a couple of weeks away. Catch up on all the episodes of Season 1 on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
The freak clasps his hands around my neck and squeezes. This is beginning to be a trend this evening. Then he changes things up by placing his stank mouth with cracked lips onto mine, making a tight seal.
Jimmy saw the mouth in the dim light snapping wildly at him. Spittle and blood sprayed him as he pushed away from the monstrous face. His hand rubbed against the handle of the screwdriver, which was on the floor now. His fingers wrapped around it, and he raised it slowly over his head, ready to deliver a vicious blow to the gruesome attacker. Suddenly, Nick's heads-up display flashed a collision alert, fast approaching. He scanned the data, but what he saw didn't make any sense. Something dead ahead was filling the horizon, like a mountain range, but according to their position, they were in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, near the northern Mariana Islands. There shouldn't be anything near them for several minutes, yet the collision alert warning was sounding, and the object filling the horizon was growing at an alarming rate.
They're waiting down there in the shadows for me as usual. They have been watching me since I started down the crazy twist of steps. All of them in their red-colored stained clothing, salivating, crying, and making their way to me.
A click is heard as what looks like a wall with a map on it opens and reveals another hidden room. Wilson walks in the room and Manny follows and sees a grimy mattress covered with a stained sheet on the floor, multiple chains and collars attached to one wall, and what could only be blood stains on the walls and floor, along with various clothes, shoes, and other pieces of material.
These two thugs were going to kill him and dump his body somewhere at the airport. They mentioned bodies, and that's when Reginald took notice of the rolled-up carpet next to him. He slowly crawled to the end of the roll and looked inside. It was dark, but he could make out the glassy doll-like eyes of the corpse inside, staring into eternity. With a hole in his forehead the size of a quarter, a small trickle of blood slowly rolled down the corpse's face. An explosion by his right foot caused him to jump before he could get a handhold. It was too late. He was spinning off the exterior of the cargo container into the void. The shrapnel must have torn a small hole in his environmental suit because warnings were going off in his headset about an environmental system breach.
The darkness, wiggling bony fingers from each of the hands start to move and claw as one toward the child. While smiling, a purr can be heard from the child's soul softly as the hands come out of the fireplace. They surround the child's face and begin to caress in a loving way. Then what sounds like hundreds of different voices whisper slowly, "We are ready for you."
Besides his weird attire, he was writing in a notebook while looking at me as I rolled Blake to safety. And during all this chaos, he then shut the notebook and stepped back into the smoky fog the rubble had cast over the town on that frigid December morning.
Normally a peaceful being, rage now filled Santa at the sight of his poor friend being ravaged by the demon. He picked up his bag and ran full out to the edge of the roof. He leapt into the air and swung his bag over his head. Santa landed in front of the beast and slammed his bag into him with the force of a freight train. The creature had no time to react. The bag filled with untold number of toys and its magical mass were enough to crush the beast's ribcage and send it flying back into the woods, encircling the home.
Season 2 of the Shade Chronicles drops Friday, March 15th.